Hi, I'm Peter Mullen from Mullen Natural Health Centre in Newcastle, New South Wales. And I've been a naturopath in practice for over 30 years. And tonight is the first in a series of webinars about how to live our best life naturally. And I guess there's 3 points that I'd like to make for starters tonight. And that is that wellness or being well definitely costs less than illness or injury. That life is really moving very fast for most of us and for our patients and ourselves. So keeping well and feeling out our best health is so important. And lots of people and lots of us overlook the simple stuff, the stuff that can make such a difference to our health. And most importantly, I'd really like to thank my patients, and I'm sure our guest tonight would say the same, who have really been my teachers over the years and really always inspire me. So they're the inspiration for why I keep doing what I do. Now, tonight you're in for a real treat. Tonight I'm speaking with Tom Russell, not Tim Russell, Tom Russell.
Oh, mate.
Tom is a ball of energy, fun, and an inspiration. And Tom is a physiotherapist and the managing director of NextGen Physio in Qatar. Now, Tom, you're definitely a man after my own heart. At NextGen Physios, the physios there all take a holistic approach when treating their patients. Hello, Tom.
Hey, mate. How you doing, Pete? Thanks for having me on. I'm really excited.
Oh, mate, so am I. So am I.
And they're really nice words as well.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. You are a ball of fun. Like, I've had a couple of your clients actually come in to see me recently. And when I mention your name, or they mention your name, they say, Tom is just amazing. He's just so much fun and so much high energy. And I think that's part of the whole healing approach, mate.
That's exactly right. Lots of fun. Terrible physio, though. I'm joking.
Well, they actually said you were a lot of fun and an awesome physio.
Yeah. That's pretty much been my goal, mate, since I started working as a physio, was to still enjoy myself and patients enjoy coming in to see me while we do, what they're there to see me for, which is physio.
Well, I think that's a really winning combination. Like I've been working as a naturopath for 30 years. How long have you been a physio?
This is my 8th year as a physio.
8th year. Well,
yeah.
I really think you've got a winning combination, Tom. I think people come to see us not just for their health, but they come for inspiration, motivation. And if they can have fun while they come in to have an appointment with us, that's ticking all the boxes. Like medicine, really, healing and health and healing is such an energetic thing.
I agree. And I think you don't want, if you can avoid dull experiences in your life, you should try to. So if you can find a health practitioner that has fun with you and relates to you and can make an experience that otherwise could be a little bit dull and boring, I think you go for it. It's not all about just the personality and the energy and how fun your practitioner is. But like you said, if you've got both, and it doesn't have to be a physio or naturopath, but if you can see practitioners that want to have a good time with you and want to get to know you, and help you with your specific problem, then like you said, it's a winning combination, definitely.
Yeah, mate, I think that's a big part of healing is the rapport or relationship that you develop with your patients. And I think for you and for myself as well, it's definitely not a forced thing. Like, we do what we do because we're genuinely really like people. We really like getting to know people. We like developing those relationships. So
yeah, I was talking to I've spoken to Dave, one of our other physios, a few times about this before. And if you were seeing your patients and the only thing you could talk to them about was their specific health problem, would you enjoy doing your physio or naturopath? And I think that's the thing. It's so fun being able to relate to patients outside of the actual reason why they're coming to see you.
Absolutely.
And I think,
You go.
I was just going to say, I feel like when I was at uni a little bit, this kind of got drummed out of us a bit. And I started working and I tried the real serious approach. I think you've still got to be professional, but that super duper serious clinical approach, it just didn't work for me. I wasn't happy doing it. And I don't think my patients got as much out of it and got the results that they should, because I wasn't happy and enjoying what I was doing. So Yeah, that didn't last very long, mate.
So just with that all in mind, so, you know, the energy is such a big thing, you know, our energy, the patient's energy, and, you know, really we're there to try and inspire and motivate, but sort of elevate them even from an energetic point of view. Like we want our patients to come and see us and go away feeling fantastic, not just because of the treatment you've given them or the advice I've given them, but because they've really got some genuine value or joy from the whole experience. So yeah, I'm all about the energy, mate. So I think you've got a good combination, a winning combination.
Thanks,
Now,
mate.
so that in mind, Tom, so I guess the idea behind this series is to sort of talk with different practitioners and find out what it really means to you to be healthy. So what does being healthy look like to you?
Yeah, I think this is probably a bit of a cliche answer to start with, but it is about balance. And I don't mean balance in the way that everything that you should do should be balanced out to the point where you're perfect with your health and everything's, you know, all the stars are aligned. I think for me, being healthy and when I feel healthiest is when I've got the balance between pushing really, really hard with my health. And that doesn't necessarily just mean physical stuff. You know, it doesn't just mean exercise or diet. It can be, you know, relationships I have in my life, friends, family. You know, sometimes we think that we have to dial things back, but I'm a big believer in you've got to know when to push really, really hard with those things and strive, learn more, develop more relationships. But getting the balance between doing that and knowing when to really, really pull back, though. And that's what healthy, you know, being healthy is to me. So knowing when to push, knowing when to pull back. And that can mean different things for people, pulling back. I think I've mentioned to you before, Pete, I love KFC. I love it. And you know, we're both health practitioners. And I think that a lot of the time we outlaw things like that because we're trying to achieve balance. But for me, that's not what it's about. I'm healthiest when I'm doing those things that I really, really love that may not be the best for me all the time. And I'm also then pushing when I need to push. I think does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I love that. I think that's a really good point. Like with health, like we get all these rules in place about this is good, this is bad. But if something gives you joy and you get so much benefit from sort of letting your hair down or doing something that, you know, you'd normally consider not to be right, I think there's a lot of benefit in that, mate. It's finding your, like for me, it's about, from a personal point of view, finding what really gives you joy. Like everyone's different, and finding out what really, even if it's on the naughty side, like you balance that out by then, you know, your exercise, but you're giving yourself I guess you're giving yourself permission to do what you need to do at the time to feel better for that time.
And I think not using it, and this is important as well, not using it as a cop out to just constantly do all those splurge things. And I guess that's what it means to me to be healthy, is knowing what's enough and what's too much. Well,
not having KFC every night for dinner, but just having that as a blowout every so often.
No, and even like sometimes, like I love my work. I really love it. I love the business. I love everything about it. And I like to do 12-hour days. It's something I love. I like to get up early and do a massive day at work. You know, I get a lot of energy from that myself.
Yeah.
But I used to do that Monday through to Friday, and then I'd work on Saturday from 8 till 4. That was too much of that striving and pushing really hard. So I don't do that anymore, but I still work 7 till 7, 3 days a week because I love it. But I know that it was too much what I was doing before, and I didn't have the balance right, and other things started to fall down. So that's a good example of it for me, doing something that I love, but I can't do that every day.
I see an astrologist every so often, and I had a catch up with her just recently, and I love astrology. Like I I always like it. It gives me a bit of confirmation that I'm in the right place, that, whatever's going on, everything's got its own time and reason, etc. But one of the things she said to me, and I love this analogy about, we all have a material self and a soul self. And the material self, like we need to be part of the world. We need to be able to provide for ourselves, for our families. We need to be part of community. It'd be great just to be sitting down at the beach every day watching the sunset. But if we can't provide for ourselves, then we're not going to survive in the real world. Having that material self, we also need to think about what feeds our soul self. And feeding our soul self for me is going fishing, going for a swim at the beach. We need to have, and it's a bit like what you're talking about there with balance. Like, you can work 5 days a week, but you need to have those 2 days where you're doing the things that feed your soul, spending time with Danielle, me spending time with Dana and the family. For me, having time on my own is really important. Dana, not so much. She hates being on her own.
Well, would you believe I need a little bit? I don't need much, but yeah, I need a little bit of that. Not much. Like, I love being at work, and I love when I'm at home being with Danielle. That's my favourite place to be, is with Danielle. But even an hour of alone time for me is part of that balance a week.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's other people might need a lot more than that. But for me, as long as I get, an hour once a week, that I'm sweet.
I probably need 2 hours a week at least. I would say.
Dana, mate, I don't reckon.
But everyone's different, aren't they? But like, I love that analogy, that to me, being healthy is recognizing what you need to do for your material self. Material stuff does feed us as well. Like, buying a new home, buying a new car, doing well at work, all of those things, that feeds us as well. But then we also need that soul self that, can get away from the material world and, feeds us in other ways. So
I love that. That's
I think it's kind of what you just said, actually, but it's just worded a bit differently.
More eloquent.
Thanks, Tom.
But I think the balance thing, people look at it as it's a fine balance of just healthy things. That's all it is. Their balance is this little narrow window of, here's the healthy things I can do, and there's nothing outside of that. That's the biggest thing I'm probably talking about, is we mentioned it before, the blowout stuff. That's huge for me. You got to know what is a healthy blowout for you, and what
also, what's interesting is, like, when you have a healthy blowout, like, say for instance, let's use your KFC as an example. It's maybe not so much that it's the taste of the KFC, or, it's that you're in love with Colonel Sanders, or whatever your infatuation is with KFC. It's the fact that you feel a little bit free to make that choice. Yeah. Would you say, like, it's not necessarily, in the ideal world, but that you can do it. You don't judge yourself for it. You're not worried about what other people think of you for doing it. It's just something that feeds your soul, the freedom to do what you want to do. So
I agree. It's not the act of it itself. I mean, I don't know if I even enjoy KFC that much. It's just that feeling, like you said, of being like, I'm going to have a bit of almost a reward as well. Like, you shouldn't only reward yourself with unhealthy food.
But you're rewarding yourself with the freedom to make that choice.
Yeah.
And you wear the consequences of that as well. Like, if I had KFC, I'd probably end up with tummy pain and diarrhea. That's part of it.
That's part of it. But
anyway,
after I have the KFC, I'm like, I bloody wish I didn't do that. But like you said, probably the freedom you get from it must overcome that feeling you get after it to kind of.
Absolutely. So moving right along, next question. What's a common theme among your most vibrant patients?
Yeah, this is a really, really good question. And I think there's a lot of directions that I could go answering it, and they often are associated with the physical things they do, but I feel like the most vibrant patients that I see, it's more about their mindset, about their own life and the world even that they live in. I think that's the biggest distinguishing factor. And for me, it's very hard to be vibrant and healthy if you're dedicating lots of your headspace, to the small things, the little things. And I see that a lot in the clinic. And it's not easy, and I don't pretend to be a mental health expert or a mental health practitioner, but just this is the best way that I can answer this question, is that being vibrant is having the space to be vibrant. And if you're constantly worrying about, little things or sweating the small things, it can be very difficult. So I just see that common thread with patients. They just seem to see the world as glass half full, not glass half empty. And I don't think that those patients haven't worked for that. I don't think it needs to be something that comes naturally, or if you're not always feeling positive that you're doing something wrong or that you're not vibrant. I think it's just like we were saying, it probably feeds into what we're talking about with the balance idea. I think if you achieve that balance and you're not sweating the small things, you're not thinking about all those little things that could or could not go wrong, you got more space to be vibrant and happier and healthier. Yeah.
I love that. Look, I love that concept about creating more space for yourself. That that you're not, because I use the analogy so many times. I see patients and their buckets full.
Yeah.
But they're so full up with all sorts of stuff. They just don't have space for them in any of that to even consider, what health might look like or how life might be, without feeling like they're constantly at the edge all the time, or overloaded or overwhelmed. So I think that's a really, really neat way to describe that. I was talking with one of my clients today, Brian, and he said that, health is really, and I think Brian might be watching. Hi, Brian.
Hey, Brian. Hey,
and Brian was saying that health really is about mindset, and I think that's really is a big part of it. But he had a really interesting point. He said that every decision, like us human beings are at our most powerful in the decisions we make. Every day we're making decisions about what we're going to have for lunch, what time we're going to get up. But every decision has a ripple effect or consequences as well. And I think if we're coming from that glass is half full scenario, we're going to make decisions that have more positive outcomes as well. We're going to maybe or possibly choose better food, or we're going to choose to get to bed on time or whatever. So I love that. So Brian and you on the same page about mindset. But us humans are pretty powerful. We're making decisions all the time about everything. So if we can raise the energy about our decision making, then I think that really makes a big difference. And I love that analogy of the glass half full. And I say to my patients, if your bucket's full, we've got to do what we can to try and give you some space in there, some space to breathe and, do the things that you need to do to have better health.
It's interesting, Pete, you brought up that bucket idea, because it's actually a really common principle from a physio point of view with, a lot of the strength and conditioning stuff that we talk about. And we're always talking about building a bigger bucket for people.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't know when it comes to, if they're an athlete, it's about getting them stronger and fitter. But as human beings, it's not always possible to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and trying to build up our mental state to get a bigger bucket. I think it's capped. Our physical bucket is probably a lot bigger, our capacity to add things into that. But if we're overwhelmed with head noise, I think it's much more difficult.
Mate, I always say to patients, and I'm not sure even where I got this concept from, but I really need exercise. Like I say, a lot of my patients, where they feel like their bucket's full, because sometimes you can feel like your bucket's full, but your bucket's not actually full.
Mm.
It just feels like it's full. And a really neat exercise, and you can try this for me now. Put one hand on your heart, one hand on your tummy, on your belly button. So where's your awareness gone to? In your chest?
Yeah.
So what I always say to clients is, if you want to ask yourself a question, say you want to know what's the best thing for me at the moment to do about this situation, or about what's the best type of exercise for me to do right now. This is where you ask the question, and you wait for an answer. Like, oftentimes our bucket feels full because we're spending all our time in our head, going round and round in circles. And the crazy thing is, our head is not good at solving problems. You know, if you have a problem and you ask yourself and you keep thinking, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Your head's not geared up to solve that. We've lost that ability to connect in and trust our gut. Ask a question here and wait for the answer. Don't make it up. Wait for the answer. And you might dream about it that night. You might see it on a billboard the next day. But once you get the answer, and most times we know what the answer is, to be honest, then you use your head to work out the logistics. But if you spend your life trying to solve, because we're also in the head and going crazy up here, that we forgot to trust our gut or our intuition. So, you know, anything you can do to be more grounded, I think, will give you the sense that you've got a lot more space in that bucket. Like what you were talking about before, I think it can be an illusion that that bucket's full because of how we're viewing that bucket. Anyway, it's a great exercise. Like, we need to get
overwhelming the bucket with unnecessary stuff.
Absolutely. Well. And we're using our head to try and solve issues. That our head, our mind is good if we give it a job to do. But if we let our mind run the show, or we let our nervous system run the show, we're kind of at the victim then of our nervous system and our. So
that's
anyway,
real. I love it, Pete. You're a bloody very smart man.
Thanks, Tom.
And Danielle is watching in the other room. I'm at work at the clinic, and she'd be loving this chat.
Great. I'll as we said before. You said before Danielle's got a lot of issues, but as I pointed out, I think you might be number one on that list. But
that's the only issue, mate. Yeah, she's stuck with me for life.
Well, actually, Dana would say the same about me. Her only issues are me as well. So I think, Tom, you and I are all right. It's everyone else. It's a bit crazy.
Yeah. Not everyone else can be perfect, mate.
Oh, there's a question come through. Actually, do you think balance is overrated though? If you were trying to balance rather than be in the moment, how do I know?
Jeez, that's a good question. I'm the most in the moment person you'll ever bloody meet, so. And that's probably that's how I justify the blowouts and the big changes in what I do. That's a really good question. I think if you are in the moment, then you will achieve balance.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I think you were sort of talking about before, Pete, about not just getting in your head and thinking and worrying. And if you just trust your gut and your heart and you live in the moment, then I think you make decisions just naturally that are probably a little bit more in the moment.
Yeah, I think so. And I think
that makes sense. Like, yeah, I think you just naturally will achieve balance that way.
Well, I think in some respect the balance is there in being present. Like, I think the more present you are, because a really good tip, I often tell my patients this, is that one of the best ways to practice, like, because everyone will say, you know, talking about mental health, and I'm the same as you, I'm not making out that mental health is easy, and, you know, so many people are suffering with anxiety and depression, etc. But oftentimes when you do talk about mental health, people will say, you know, you should take up meditation, or you should write in a journal every day about how you're feeling. And they're awesome ideas. However, one of the best things I think you can do to really start to practice being in the moment is every day, mums, but all of us, have hours of chores that we have to do. You know, washing the dishes, putting our clothes away, washing, whatever. So, pardon me, what I say to my patients is really practice not multitasking. Like multitasking is a bit of a myth. Like we actually get a lot more stuff achieved by doing one task at a time. So my challenge to my young mums with kids and busy and everything is when you're doing a job, if you're folding the washing, just fold the washing, put it in its piles and put it away.
Yeah.
Don't leave the washing to go and put another load of washing out, half unpack the dishwasher, go away and do something else. If you actually can be just in the moment with these hours of chores every day, you'll be starting to practice that concept of being more peace and calm and present with what you're doing, rather than if you're multitasking, if you're trying to do 10 different things, you're all up here. You're really missing that opportunity. So yeah, I think that's a good question about balance. And I think maybe a better word than balance is to practice being more present more of the day.
And I think we'll talk, like, and I know we keep harping on this KFC thing. I barely have KFC.
Tom, I didn't bring KFC up again. You've mentioned it about 15 times.
But it's a good point about the balance thing. So I don't put in my diary I'm going to have, and this, because this is a common thing. I see I'm going to have KFC once a month, or once every 3 months, or whatever it might be. And this can go for a number of health stuff that you're trying to talk about, this balance. If I feel like I need it to have a bit of, that time, I'll do it.
Yep. I like it. I think that's you being present. And my challenge to you, you ready for my challenge to you?
Worried, mate. I'm worried.
No, next time you're going to have KFC, and only because you've brought it up 20 times now, next time you go to have KFC, just ask yourself the question, why do I feel like having KFC?
Yeah.
Now, don't not have it.
Yeah.
Still choose to go and have it, but be conscious of what is it? Is it just that you want to have some fun and you want to let your hair down? Is it because, I don't know, maybe because you've had a really big week and you think you really want to blow out a little bit? Just take it dive a little bit deeper and just ask yourself, why do I want to have KFC? But still go and have it anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my tip.
I love it, mate. I love it.
Now, what are your top 5 tips for excellent health?
Well, I could come up with about 5,000 of these, 10,000. The first tip, and by the way, a lot of these are not super specific to physio. So these are just things that, for me, I really try and work on myself. So they're not, I didn't want to just talk about, you should do this exercise or this stretch. People don't, that's not super interesting. This has been a constant battle of mine, and that's snoozing my alarm. And I think a really good tip is to try really, really hard not to do that. I think that getting up anyway with an alarm is not the healthiest thing, being startled. So if you can get one of those alarms that gradually build up to wake you, or another method is better. And I figured this out when I was studying at uni, because there wasn't a real time incentive for me to do stuff. You kind of can get up when you want. So I would set my alarm for a certain time with all intention of getting up then, and I would snooze it about 30 times. And I just did, just by accident, experimented with not doing that, and the energy and vitality I had for the whole day.
Yeah.
So much greater when I just rose out of bed and got stuck into it.
Yeah.
I think that being startled and then going back to sleep for a little bit and then being startled again, and repeating that over again. And by the way, this is something I'm working on now. I still snooze it's really hard. I find this very difficult. The bed's nice and warm, and I definitely notice it takes me a lot longer to get going in the morning when I'm doing the snoozing.
I'd suggest Danielle get something like a stick or something, or something just to whack you with when that alarm goes.
I partly learned, re-engaged in the snoozing thing because of Danielle. Loves to snuggle. And oh, look, I don't want to snuggle either. So, well, no.
Yeah, waking up's a good one. Do you wake up sometimes before your alarm goes off?
Never.
Never. What time do you go to bed of a night time?
What time do you go to bed, Danielle? 9:30, 10. I get up at 6. Some days I have to get up at 5.
Okay, I always say for me, and it's getting to bed early is something I've struggled with for a long time. You know, I probably have a patch where I could get tired or about 8:30, like 9 o'clock, 9:30, but I fight through and then I get second wind.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But what should happen? Our stress hormones should wind down. And about 9:30, there's an opportunity to go to sleep. But if you fight it, you get second wind, and then you stay up and you disrupt your pattern.
Yeah.
So probably the ideal time to be asleep by, I think, is 9:30.
Yeah.
And it's the old saying is the hours before midnight that count. And recently I've been seeing this a lot more with patients. There's a really good book by a fellow called Matthew Walker on why we sleep.
Oh, I've heard about this book. Yeah, patient the other day.
Yeah, and he says in his book that probably he thinks sleep, good quality sleep, is more important than diet and exercise.
That's so. I got a bit of I don't know if it's a funny, interesting story. I don't know what you'll think about this, Pete, but I had a patient. I haven't seen him for ages, and I think he was maybe 92 or 93 when he was coming to see me. And I said, oh, what's your... And he was really talking about vibrant, healthy, physically fit, mentally with it, just a really healthy bloke. And you could tell that he had lived a super full life. And I said, I'm not suggesting people should do this, by the way, but it's an interesting concept. I said, what's your secret? And he said, half a Valium every night before bed, my whole life. But I definitely wouldn't suggest that. But the concept was interesting. He said, no matter what, I would get enough sleep. Yeah. No matter what. Yeah. He said, I know that it's not the best thing, but no matter what, I was able to get enough sleep. And he said, I would exercise, I would eat well, I had better relationships, my wife was happy with me, I was a good dad. And I'm not talking about the Valium thing. That's just a funny part of the story. But it was so interesting and kind of touches on what you're saying with sleep being more important than diet and exercise. I think he was sort of like, well, if I have to take this every night and I think he said he slept 9-10 hours every night. Yeah, yeah. Look, it really is so important, and you'll like this, or you might not like this because you are the original Energizer Bunny. But if you live for, so say we should sleep for 8 hours. 8 hours, I think probably 9 hours a day. Yeah. So what fraction is 8 hours of a day? A third. So if you live for 90 years, how many years will you be asleep for? 30. 30. Isn't that disturbing? But that's the truth of the matter. Like, I knew you wouldn't like that. You think that's a terrible waste of time. But yeah, so that's how important sleep is. And when we sleep, that's when the body really resets itself. You know, our cerebral spinal fluid flushes through our brain, washing out chemicals and toxins that increase aging and dementia. So yeah, sleep is so important. So that's your number one tip. Never snooze your alarm. My number one tip is to go to bed and be asleep by 9:30. But also make sure. And I always say this to my patients: how you know you've had a good night's sleep is when you wake up in the morning and it's a surprise that it's morning. Yeah. You know, when you wake up and think, is it already that time? That's how you know you've really disengaged. Yeah. I love it. Number two. What's number two? I think if something is bothering you, then seek help. So it doesn't have to be a physio thing or a naturopath thing, but if something's getting to you physically or mentally, then go and see the appropriate practitioner. Don't wait. And I'm speaking from personal experience working as a physio. If people come in sooner rather than later, it's generally a lot easier for us to help them. Yeah. And I work off the 1 week rule, which doesn't sound like very long, but if something's abnormal and it's bothering you for more than sort of 4 to 7 days, then you need to get someone to help you with it. And I use the example of, you know, going to the doctor for, say, gastro or a cold. If I've got a cold for a day, I'm not going to go to the doctor. But if I have one for 3 weeks, then I should seek help. It's just a random example, but I feel like people put it off even though that they know that they should be getting some assistance for whatever part of their health it might be. It can be anything.
Yeah, yeah.
So if something is bothering you, it's getting you down, it's affecting your quality of life. And you know, I think a lot of the time we may have coping mechanisms that we have in place that we can deal with certain stresses on our body, and that's okay too. You know, it's not my job as a physio to just see everyone anytime the smallest little thing comes up. I hope that I could try and educate my patients and give them management, you know, strategies they can do before they race in and see me. But if something's bothering you, and I think more than 4 to 7 days, then get it checked out.
Yeah, mate, I think that's a really good one. I think because oftentimes, and you'll be the same as me, we'll see people that have been suffering with a problem for 4 years or 10 years, and you know, might have seen a couple of people over that time, but end up on our door, you know, desperate and you know, really struggling. So I think that's an awesome one. Number 2 for me, so after sleep, number 2 for me is understanding more about your stress levels. You know, like so many times these days, you know, we're a bit like the frog in the pot of water. You know, you put a frog in a pot of water and you turn it on, and after a while the frog gets so used to swimming around that it doesn't realize it's about to get cooked. And I reckon this COVID thing, I think this whole coronavirus thing has been a lot more stressful for me than what I realized. I think initially when it first happened, you know, we were all in a panic, you know, everything stopped, no one was going out. But it's almost like we've become all a bit blasé to it now because it's been going on for a couple of months. Sort of forgotten how many people's worlds have been disrupted, how many people's worlds are still disrupted. We're sort of not thinking about how we can help others or how we can be supportive of others. So, I think I'm learning how to recognize how stressed you are and how to check in with yourself daily and what you can do about your stress response. That's number 2 for me.
Love it. Love it. I ask patients that question. I'm like, what do you like to do to de-stress?
Yeah, perfect.
And they often have a list of things that are nothing fancy or complicated or expensive. And I'm like, the time efficient. And I said, well, when was the last time you did that? Oh, I haven't done any of that for 6 months.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like it's, knowing what stresses us, but also being mindful and aware of what we enjoy doing that will also help us de-stress, and doing those things.
Absolutely. It's that glass half full again. Yeah,
but be positive and just go for it. I love, and Danielle will know this, I love to get foot massages, right? Weird. I know. I don't have any problems with my feet. I just find it really relaxing. For some reason, I go there and they don't talk to me. It's nice, quiet music. It's dark. I've got sidetracked. What were we talking about, Pete?
You're taking
de-stressing. So, and it's not a super expensive thing. It only takes half an hour. I just have to walk across the road. So I just accepted the fact that that's something I like to do to de-stress. So I just do it. I'm not saying I go 3 times a
day. But you're conscious of it and you do it. So that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Mate, number 3.
This is a cracker, but move. You have to move for 10 minutes every day. And when I say move, I don't mean incidental activity. Something that's a little bit purposeful. So you're dedicating a block. I love incidental movement. So that's movement that's just part of your day naturally. So walking to the car or doing the washing or whatever it is. That stuff's great, but having that time for yourself where you move and you purposefully move, it could be a range of different things, from going for a walk, a run, doing some weights and body weight exercises, and it could be more than that for some people. Some people might want to do it for 2 hours a day. But I think if you, and I'm not big on rules, we're talking about living in the moment and balance, that sort of stuff. I think when it comes to movement, we should have a rule about movement. We should have a rule.
Yeah.
Because it's a fundamental thing. We have a rule around sleep,
Yeah, exactly.
No one's going to say, oh, I'm not going to go to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
I think we brush our teeth. There is certain things that for our health, we do have to take some ownership and not just, live in the moment. And, I think there are things where it's like, no, I want to do this because it's the best thing for me. And I'm going to move for a minimum of 10 minutes every day. And for some people, that might just be walking around the block. It's not, I'm not suggesting it's 1,000 burpees or anything.
Well, every patient we see exercise as being part of their prescription.
Yeah.
If someone's got arthritis, they must exercise. If someone's got autoimmune, they must exercise. If someone's got fibromyalgia, that's one of the ways that you get better, is by starting slow and building up your exercise. So exercise when you're unwell, but I guess what we're talking about as well is exercise as a preventative thing as well. So, mate, we're on track. I'm with you. Exercise is number 3.
Mate, huge. And I think,
and I agree with you. It needs to be non-negotiable. It needs to be something that, it's like having a dog. We all know if you've got a dog, it's cruel not to take it for a walk every day. So I think we need that ourselves.
You're not gonna spend 5 days not brushing your teeth. So what?
Number 4.
Number 4 is back to number 3. Basically, if you can move outside, then it's a bloody winner, absolute winner. I think that this is another thing I stumbled across in my sort of late 20s, because I think that I just naturally started to spend more time inside working. And I know we've spoken about this as well, Pete, before. I love, in my lunch break, going for a walk. There's a little track in Katara, Raspberry Gully. I just get so much vitality from that, from exercising outside. I've started running along that track as well. I come back here and I feel on top of the world. Not that exercising inside isn't good, because it is. Yeah. But if you can do that same exercise outside, then do it outside.
Absolutely.
The vitality, energy, and the sun, and you see people and whatever, there's just so many good things associated with that.
Well, I think energetically as well, we're discharging a lot of that stress. And for me at the moment, I've got a bit of a goal. I'm trying to have a swim in the ocean every day.
Yeah, love it.
I get up in the morning, or if I go to the gym, I call in the beach on the way home, and I'm only in and out of the water. And I think for me, I come out of the water and I don't feel the cold, because I feel, energized from it. So, outdoors, number 4. Number 5.
Show love to every single person and try and smile, be happy. That's probably is actually number 1. Yeah, that's beautiful, mate.
I love that too. And I'd say number 5 for me is community and family and relationships, and probably that is number 1. Really in some respects, because it's like what I was talking about before. We all are part of a community, and we all need help. You and I need help. We need to see practitioners that. I've got a osteopath that I see, and you're my new physiotherapist, and do you know what I mean? I've got a naturopath that I see myself. So, we can't treat ourselves sometimes. Well, we all do need that network, but not just professionals. Family and loved ones and partners, and we wouldn't be, who we are, Tom, without our partners. So,
that's everything.
Absolutely, mate. And look, just to finish up, we're just about out of time. Tom, you and I could probably talk all night.
I know. I was looking at the time. I was like, bloody hell, 45 minutes.
So
And I
just
was having a low, Pete, I was having a low level freak out because I thought my phone was going to die. I was like, geez, we're going to be talking till 11 o'clock tonight. You'll be grumpy tomorrow because you think that's bed at 9:30.
Yeah, anyway, I've got to go. I've got to get to bed soon. And mate, one just to finish with one more question. If you had your time over again, is there something that you would do differently from a health point of view?
No, I wouldn't. And I think this is what we were talking about before we actually came on. I think when you work in health, a lot of the time people think that you're this mecca of health yourself.
Yeah.
And you're always doing the right thing. And that's why I think it's important to bring up the blowouts and stuff like that, because patients will often think that you're the mecca of health and physical activity and you eat perfectly and you do everything exactly as you should. The guilt that patients get when I ask them, oh, what are you doing any exercise? Because they think that, oh, here's a physio, who must do 20 hours of exercise every day. I think that because I've made lots of mistakes with my health, I've had amazing health, I've had terrible health at different times in my life, and they've all been because of the decisions that I've made. Yeah. A lot of them have been different levels of knowledge, people that I've met, but I think it's all enabled me to relate a lot more to any patient that comes in. And, I love physio. I love being able to help people, and it's my career, it's my passion. And if I hadn't have had all those weird and wonderful health experiences, I don't know how I would be doing what I'm doing now and being able to relate to people. So I wouldn't change anything. Maybe a little bit less partying in my 20s, Pete, maybe just a little bit. Really 30 now, maybe a little bit, but even that, I've had fun. I've done things not enough. I've done things too much. Some of them are exercise related, some of them are party related, whatever. But I'm really happy with where I'm at now and the position that I'm in to be able to help other people. So I've got no regrets, mate.
That's awesome, mate. And really well said. I think we're all a composite of all our experience. And as you said, it's the decisions we make along the way. And just as easily as we can make a decision to do something not so great for our health, the next second we can make a decision to really do some simple things that will have such an impact, like going for a walk every day in your lunch hour. Now, I did have one more quick question here that I've just noticed. Is there such a thing as too much sleep? What do you think?
Jeez, is this question for me or you, mate? You're the one spread, mate. Is there such a thing as too much sleep? I feel like I think there could be, definitely, but I don't know many people that would be able to achieve too much.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think some people that have like real fatigue issues, like chronic fatigue or like a health issue, I think there can be such a thing as too much sleep. But, general rule for most people is if you sleep and you sleep longer, it's probably because you needed that sleep, because you might be sleep deprived or whatever. But
yeah.
I think it gets a lot back to trying to get into that circadian rhythm a bit.
Yeah.
So I think there could be too much sleep, but I think if you feel you are sleeping too much, it's probably there could be an underlying health issue, or you could have apnea or something else going on. So it's probably good to see someone about that. But
I think if you ask sort of your average person how much do they sleep, and you said, okay, this is too much sleep, you try and achieve that, I think they'd be going, if they didn't have any underlying medical or other concerns going on.
No, but thank you for the question. Thank you for both of the questions. Tom, absolute pleasure talking with you.
Thanks, mate. Loved it.
I've really enjoyed your views on everything, and I'm just so impressed that you and I are in sync, that, for most parts there, we're pretty much on exactly the same page. So that tells me that
we'll do this again, mate, I reckon, for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, when we finish tonight, Tom and I are just about to sign off. For those of you watching tonight, a little survey will pop up. And if you could sort of answer that survey for us, tell us what you thought of the seminar, or the webinar rather. And if you've got some thoughts or ideas about what you'd like Tom and I to talk about and discuss in a future webinar, give us some clues. And we'll also be sending everybody an email out tomorrow with some extra information as well. So, Tom, you're available for consultations. You're pretty busy at the moment.
I am available. Danielle and I are going away tomorrow. We're doing an engagement shoot because we're getting married soon.
Fantastic.
So we're going up to the Hunter Valley. So I don't have that much time off. Neither does Danielle, but I will be available for consults next week.
All right, mate. So anybody listening that wants to see an awesome physiotherapist, Tom's available for appointments. At Mullen Health, we've always got space to see new clients. So if you'd like to learn more about what we both do, please take us up on get in contact, come and see us. But thank you all so much again for listening. Tom, again, thank you so much. And we'll definitely get back together and do some more stuff real soon.
I loved it, mate. It was really fun. Thanks, Pete.
All right. Nice to see you, Tom.
Cheers.
See you, mate. Bye.